Dr. Lemmon here again, and this is Introduction to July blog. Um, we've gone through a half a year now, and personally, I started playing with rage in January when I started blogging, and I've played with all these different things at different times. 20 years ago, we were working to work with self. We were working with relationships, getting along with people better. I'm not saying that's still not a problem, but right now, because we have been so polarized and the change at this point, we really need to get some range, some playground space, bigger piece, right? And I've been talking about that since January. I've had lots of things that have come up, change for myself, for my wife. We're doing things differently. That's just because we have discovered options or different ideas that have come into play. So that's exactly what we're doing. You should be experiencing some of them, and some of the people that email me most certainly are doing that. Just opportunities have come up for them, kind of amazing, when things were really down and out, no jobs, no this, no that, and this is like things are starting to blossom. So that's good news, right? Some people have had, I've tried, I want to do this. I had good intentions. I couldn't get to it. All right. Pretty much from my experience and my background, I've found that that's just an unconscious piece. We run, not only do we have unconscious, what I call speed bumps, little things that don't make sense. And therefore we can't get it around our logical head to make sense out of it to fix, right? So we have little things that are unconscious that don't make sense. So if they show up as like a nightmare, a dream or something. And then we have patterns. Most of us is redundant. We only got 7 plus or minus 2 pieces of consciousness, right? So it's like all of it is redundant. If we drive a familiar place, we don't even remember driving. We manage it fairly well. Great programming in here for unconsciousness, but right now we're bumping up against it, right? So we can open that up. More than likely, it's not the programming itself that's at fault. This piece in here, how it got created and how it works, nobody's figured out. They have lots of theories of mind. Integrated intelligence is one I particularly like, but it's just both just theories, right? So when we're starting to look at like, why can't I wrote myself notes, I've made phone calls, I researched stuff, and I can't get off the ground. I can't quite get over to do that. I can't quite get that done. Yes, I have a bunch of those myself that I haven't quite got to, but I have a bunch of them I've got to. It just takes a certain amount of time. If you've had some success, you're doing it right. If you're looking around and thinking, well, out of 10, I only got 4 done, you're perfect. You're ahead of the score. You got 2 done, you're doing good. If you got none done, you have an issue, right? So we came out with a program, myself and a few of my former staff, when I had a center, got together, we chit-chatted. We get together every now and then, we have meetings, we discuss things that's going on. And so we took some of the concepts and things we used to work with in workshops. We didn't do a lot of workshops with unconscious patterns, because when people come to spend a weekend at a workshop, they want to walk out with their eyes dazed. They want to go, and they want to lay around and can't function for a week, because we've dug up, we've regurgitated so much stuff and then they start coming out of that. They call that a growth period. It just means that rather than expand a whole lot of range, what we just done was dig up, turn over the soil. It's kind of like rototilling. So we just rototilled them that weekend, right? And then they were just kind of like putting it all together. They had to make new stories. We broke the continuity in their stories, and they had to start to manufacture new ones. Not a big thing, right? We can handle that. But that's what we expect. We expect the truck wreck. So when we do a workshop where it's just kind of unconscious and we just kind of go through things and we're all the time nodding out and sleeping, then when a whole thing's over, we go home and we think, well, that was a waste of money. We don't get a marker of what the change is. And the change will probably be 3-4 months later. And when it occurs, it looks like, oh, someone just called me. Oh, this is magical. Oh, wow. I was just thinking about that, and then it all unfolded for me. Wow, that's just kind of interesting. Well, I guess I was lucky here or whatever. But really, it was that work that was getting the blocks out of the way. I'm going to call them a block, right? It's just going down a path. It's more a deviation, right, than a block, or a slowdown, right? You lose timing. And so then you get buried. You just don't have time to do it. If your story is you don't have time to do it, you've lost timing, right? You had the vision, you didn't get it done because you ran out of time. You got distracted by something else that your unconscious world had made more important. And I'm not sure that that's right or wrong, right? I'm not sure there is a right or wrong, right? So you have to start to take a look at what's right for us is what works really good. It works really good as a group of humans. So it works good for society as a whole. We can accomplish all kinds of amazing things that don't work good for society as a whole. People get injured. We see those things come into lawsuits. We see a few of them out there that probably will eventually come into lawsuits, right? We hear news on these discoveries that someone had made a mistake that was, for the sake of profit or what, it don't matter. None of that matters, right? It just means that it occurred. And we're really looking at moving forward. So it's like, what do I do? How do I expand this out so I have a bigger picture? So when I do something, I'm totally in integrity. I can move forward with my friends. I can talk to them. I can be truthful, but not offensive. I can express an opinion and make it clear it's an opinion and not a dogma, right? Those are the type of communications that we humans get together on, right? You get a community of people working on a project there. They agree on a project. They don't agree on how or what. So it just takes a little leadership and a little camaraderie and they get it done, right? And that's it. Life is just, we come together and we make it all happen, right? That's it, right? And so there's structure in place and some of that structure is in the background. It's changing. Some of it needs to be changed because it's became outdated. All those things are true, right? But it's no sense throwing stones at someone. It's just kind of like, this will all materialize in time. Maybe not in your lifetime. Probably not in my lifetime. But nonetheless, it all starts to materialize. It takes huge amount of time. Evolutionary changes used to take like 1,000 years. Now they're occurring much, much quicker because of the fact that we adapt to change much, much quicker, right? I like to go back to Clare Graves' work, right? Yeah, Clare Graves passed, and when he died, then some of his, the people that he was working with that were learning his system, then have expanded it and put it into a package. And there's more people that join. It's not a bad package. It's called Spiral Dynamics. It's out there somewhere. But we don't need to. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. I think it's really, really cool. And you can find out a lot about all that stuff online. But for the most part, the whole package is much, much bigger than that. By its own nature, any structured piece can become an isolation, right? When you join whether it's a church or an organization or a social organization or a fellowship or something, you'll see within that context that we're better than them, or we got it right and they got it wrong, or we're going to fix a problem because no one else can, or whatever, right? And that's just a piece of polarization that we start to then, instead of being, I'm all alone and arguing with everybody, then I have a group of friends that are now all agreeing with me and arguing with someone. All that is a matrix of a war, right? So we really need to build range up enough so we can see other people's viewpoints and we can find paths between it. We have unconscious paths. And if they're not corrupted, they work really, really good. We can negotiate a lot of those things. I'm sure if you think about your life, you were in trouble a couple of times where you got pulled over for a traffic ticket, or you did this, you did that, or someone thought you were stealing, or someone thought you were just obnoxious. All those things, and you worked it out. And sometimes you didn't work it out, and you got in trouble. But there was occasions when you worked it out, whether you were fighting with cousins or whatever. So you start to see that this system in here, without an education in therapy, this system in here allows you to negotiate with people, allows you to be friendly, to work something out, whether it's a neighbor over a fence or whatever. It allows you to work things out. So it's kind of intriguing. You find some way to negotiate and do it. That's what we're good at. If these patterns work, if these patterns got something in them the best way to get it out is to just open them up, put a little light on in, right? It's like a dark hallway. If you're going down a dark hallway and you're tripping over stuff, you get a flashlight, you go back in, you find out what you're tripping over, you get it out of the way. That's what we're doing with unconscious patterns. So we put together a program. I've sent some teasers out to a few people in the very beginning to say, hey, try the first class, look at the introduction, see what you think. That's still available and will be available all the rest of the year. So if you guys think, well, I want to know more about this, email me. I will send you the introduction and a video, and I'll send you class 1. And you can play with unconscious patterns. It's something you can do at home. You probably need a friend, because you got to remember that we still have this, we spend a lot of time working on relationships. So don't abandon that, especially polarized. Get someone that you can work with. It'll benefit both of you to some relative degree, but most certainly start to play with those unconscious patterns, right? Want to try this year to be able to make a step forward so that we all have options available to us. I'm not sure where the world sits, but from what I follow from an awful lot of organizations out there that I have friends in and affiliations in, why they're also working on some aspect of range. They've taken their focus off of, we got to work as a team, and they're putting it on like, we've got to build vision here. We've got to be able to expand this out. We've got to come in with new ideas. We have to have innovation if we're going to move forward. Yes, we have a group of people working together, but we need the innovation. We need somewhere to make the work accomplish a goal. Because right now, the work was good for bonding, but it's not producing an out picturing, right? And I'm not talking about profit as out picturing. Nothing wrong with profit, but I'm not talking about that particularly, right? And we see businesses that are profit centers that historically has left people go because they weren't part of the team, right? So leadership now has become a barrier, and teamwork has become a barrier. You're a club member or not a club member. And so that's a polarization again. So that's what we've seen through the years. I think that a lot of that, for some of you out there, sits in those unconscious patterns, because I've been working with this for eons, right? Over 50 years. There's another whole level that goes a little deeper. That's a little tougher to get to. Pretty much it takes quite a bit of time and therapeutic sessions to be able to start to get those pieces that don't have information in, right? There are little pieces that sit sometimes that make us just blank out and we miss the moment. We don't hear something, we don't see something, and there's little tiny pieces in conscious that do that. We're really not everybody has that. We're really finding it down, right? And those are divided into classifications, but pretty much it takes someone with a little bit of skill set to work with you and be able to feel those, find them. Whether we do it with talk therapy or we do it with sensory awareness. I have met people that were phenomenal that were doing body work, and they could find those little, it's almost like a little rhythm, a little like boom, 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 boom. It sits in there. You feel it in your body somewhere, not a heartbeat, but something that's kind of move when you move your body around. And I've talked to a lot of those people, and they said it's amazing, but they're so subtle. Most people don't feel them. So we're staging this to a bigger arena, right? Range, still play with range. Open up new ideas, play with that. The rest of the year, we'll most certainly talk about those in ideas. If you would like, and you think that something is keeping you from moving forward, then go ahead and entertain. The workshop we'll be introducing in July, right? And get that free introduction and sample. Try it out with a partner. If it feels like it's doing something, this is, once again, this is not a crash course where you're going to walk away with pieces of wisdom, but you're going to feel different. All of a sudden, you have a little sense of feeling freer. It builds momentum. I would say that somebody taking the course might get a sense of a little more autonomy in themselves. 6 or 7 months later, they're going to see ranges starting to open up that they were blocking, right? Because it's not that complicated to look around for something you don't know anything about and find out something about it, just for fun, just because. Why not, right? I have a lot of useless information about a million different topics because I've done this all my life, right? And I have talked to a lot of you guys that have done it too. And I'm surprised. I'm sitting there talking to people and how knowledgeable they are. It's just amazing, right? How much information we can get into this piece right here. And this brain can sort and find it. We don't know where it's stored. Science doesn't know where it's stored. But nice to say it's in a network. But once again, where's it stored in the network? Is it all just fluid? Is it all just flowing? Is it all in the ethers? There are people that have theories it's all in your field somewhere. Could be. I have no idea. Right? No one can, in our logical system, no one can label it. It's in our phenomena system. It's a phenomena that exists because we all have memory. But our logical world can't say what's over here in this point. Maybe it's all on cellular. I want to cellular memory theories. Could be. All those things could be, right? What we need to do, if those interest you, look them up, read on them. You don't have to join the club. You can just read on them, get information on them. I do that almost every day. You can sort out and get some YouTube videos that are actually have information that's of value to them. I know most of them are silly because the silly ones get more hits. The silly, ridiculous ones, mindless ones are people out there doing crazy stuff and making actually nickels and dimes off of it. But there's lots and lots of data. I just went through a series of how to build a dam and underground water and water pressure, and not because I have any reason to, but because I didn't really know very much about it. So I just spent 15 hours going through videos and read one book on it, and it's like, wow, that's interesting. I would think that water is going to become far more important extremely fast, right? So fresh water. I think probably it would be worth looking into. I don't know if I found any solutions, any problems, but most certainly I have a little more information about it. And so that's kind of fun. If it comes to decision-making time in a few years where we have to decide about what to do about water, why I'd be a little more informed. So those are the things that range starts to produce. All right, so I've said enough on the introduction. Go ahead and read the blog, have fun with it. If you have any questions, go ahead and email me, Chris, that's with 2 S's, CHRISS, at wizardscatch.com, WIZARDSCACHE, wizardscatch.com. And I'd be glad to answer your questions. If you're seeing the blog, you already know where wizardscatch.com is. And so thank you very much for listening, and enjoy the blog. And we will be talking to you next month, unless I get inspired to do another chat of some sort. All right, take care.